So when it's on the website, then you'll be able to access the recording from there. So I will introduce Chris Gray first. He wants to tell. We have a few questions about people trying to sign in, about all that kind of stuff. So Chris, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I see a question here. Will there be audio coming from the computer? The audio will not be coming from the computer. It's going to be coming from, of course, the phone that you dialed into with your access code and the audio pin. And then also, you want to make sure. I see there's a question about I'm registered in listen-only mode. But if you want to see the computer screen, of course, you have to sign into the webinar and, of course, put the access code that was in your registration. Okay? So there will also be an opportunity to ask questions throughout here. And if you have questions also after the webinar, you have a chance to email them to us. Okay?
Okay, thanks, Chris. So I'm going to introduce Kathy Steblaj. Most of you know her. She's talked to you. She's our student advisor. She's a wonderful lady, super smart. She has all the answers you'd ever want to know about applying for college. And so we hope to get all your questions answered here tonight. And if there's some real detailed questions, we may need to do that offline, outside of the webinar. But so most of the questions, don't ask too specific about your own situation. Do kind of general questions when you have them. And again, some of the questions will be answered during the presentation. So if I don't get to all your questions as we go, we'll have time afterwards to get the rest of the questions done. So Kathy, I'm going to let you start doing your presentation. So go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our college application workshop. And as Stuart said, I'm going to be covering a lot of information this evening fairly quickly, and you probably will not absorb it all. But again, we are recording this, and you will be able to access this workshop on our website within a few days. All right, let's get started. As you can see, we're going to cover 4 topics. Just very briefly, I want to say a few things about college selection. And if you're at the application stage, you've probably made your college selections. We'll go through the application process in detail. I'm going to pay special attention to the application essay because it's so critical. And then I've added what I call the senior year checklist, things you should be doing throughout your senior year as you prepare for college. Okay, but not. All right, just a few things about college selection. I know I've discussed this with some of you already, but you want to have at least 3 to 6 colleges to apply for. If you have done your research, you shouldn't need to apply to any more than that. And I always suggest taking a 3-tier approach, Tier 1 being your first choice. This would be the college that is your dream school. You're not certain if you will be admitted or if you have the funds, but you want to give it a try. Definitely apply to that school and see, number 1, if you're admitted, and secondly, what kind of a financial aid package they give you. Your second choice, Tier 2, this would be a school that you think you have a pretty good chance of being accepted into. You think you'll be able to pay for it. Maybe you've checked the scholarship opportunities and so on. And then definitely at least one school that is your realistic choice where you know you're going to be accepted and you're pretty sure that you can afford it. And then after you do your applications, your decisions, of course, are going to be determined by which colleges you're admitted to first, and then secondly, what kind of financial aid packages you receive. All right, let's talk a little bit about admissions requirements. If you are applying to a Washington State public university, some of them are still using the admissions index, which is a combination of GPA and SAT or ACT scores. And basically they put those into a formula, probability of you doing average work at the college level, and they give you an admission index score. In the past couple of years, schools have been adding to the admissions index your essays, personal statements. These are becoming increasingly important for all schools, and so keep that in mind when you're applying to the Washington State schools. All of the colleges now, both public and private, are looking at students holistically. And so they're not just looking at your academic achievement, but they're also looking at grade trends. For example, if you had a really bad freshman or sophomore year but did well in your junior and senior years, they're going to take that into consideration. They definitely are going to look at the rigor of your curriculum. The more rigorous your curriculum, the better your chances of being successful in college-level classes. So they're going to look seriously at that. They also are going to look at your school and community involvement. They like well-rounded students. Well-rounded students adjust better. They like students who are going to be able to come to their campus, fit in, adjust well, not immediately want to go home or not be successful on their campus. Something I think is really important, all schools are looking seriously at your senior year curriculum. I know a lot of my seniors that I've worked with feel, gosh, I've worked hard for 11 years. I want to kind of free breeze it my senior year. Don't do that, because your senior year is an opportunity to challenge yourself even further, and the more you challenge yourself, the better chances you have of being successful your freshman year in college and all through college. For all schools, you're going to have to meet your curriculum requirements. For the state of Washington, they're pretty uniform. Be sure and check each school's website to make sure that you have met their course requirements. For independent universities or private universities, some of them may have more rigorous admissions standards, and the best way to determine those admissions requirements is to get on their websites. They're pretty easy to find, and you can make sure that you have met all of those curriculum requirements.
See those first, so we should wait until.
Right, I'm sorry, we have a little technical issue going on here. Okay. And also, as I said, with the public universities, all of the independent colleges are looking at students, again, holistically. They want to see a well-rounded student. Obviously, they're looking at your academics, but they also are looking at your activities and your community service and so on. Some of the private colleges will give preference to students who meet diversity, religious, socioeconomic, or talent criteria. And the best way to determine that, again, is to get on their website, or you can call admissions. The admissions offices of most colleges are fairly easy to get into. You can call them, and then they can direct you to the specific department that you want to talk to. All right, when you're actually applying, there are 3 types of deadlines. And some of you I know have inquired about these. The first is early decision. And when you do an early decision, you are doing it because they are offering a variety of perks. Priority financial aid usually. Oftentimes they won't require an essay. They'll waive the admissions fee. They'll give you priority housing and so on. And if you choose to do early decision, this would be your first choice institution. This is where you know you want to go to this school. This is a binding decision. And that means if you choose that particular school, that early decision, then you are obligated to drop your other offers if you have any, or if you're planning on getting any. For early decision, most of the deadlines are in November. Many schools have 2 early decision deadlines, one in November and one again in January. So if you choose early decision, if you can wait until January, and that way you are, more aware of what some of your other options might be. Once you have accepted an early decision, you can decline it if your financial aid package is not sufficient for you to go to that school. And again, if you are offered the early decision, you choose to take it, then you have to withdraw your other applications. So this is something you need to be very, very serious about. We don't generally suggest our students do early decision. Okay, early action. Now this is a little bit different from early decision in that with early action, the decision is not binding. Again, apply to the institution of your preference. If you are admitted on early action, you're not obligated to accept the offer. And you may continue to apply to other schools without restriction. And again, the early action is going to offer you possibly priority financial aid and so on. If you wonder what is the difference between early action and early decision, the perks offered by early decision are usually a little greater, but you also, again, have to make a commitment. It is a binding decision. And if you have a question about the schools that you are applying to as to whether or not they offer early action or early decision, you can generally find that on their website, or you can contact the admissions office and they will give you that information. All right, regular decision is what most of you will probably do, and this is for any school that you want to apply to. The deadlines have quite a wide range. Usually they are from February 1st to May 31st. The University of Washington has a deadline of December 1st. They are the earliest. Be sure that you check the school's websites for their deadlines because they're critical. If you're considering community college, you want to have your applications in by May 15th, and some programs fill very quickly and have waiting lists, so you want to be aware of that. Okay, the actual completing of the application, that's probably the easiest part. You can go to your college website, and all of them have an application link. They're pretty easy to figure out. They'll say anything from current students or freshman applicants. You get into that application link. You generally are going to have to set up an account and develop a password and so on, and that way you can work on it for a period of time. If you're not finished, you can save it, go back, or if you need to change your information or whatever. And so you're just going to complete the information. It's pretty straightforward, your personal information. They generally ask you about your senior year curriculum. They're going to ask you what classes you're going to take throughout your senior year, and so you're going to need that information. They are going to have your college transcripts, or your high school transcripts, or your they generally do not ask for your curriculum other than your senior year curriculum. Now, once you are ready to submit your application, you submit it online. If your student, or if the college requires an application fee, you're going to need to have a credit card when you submit it. A lot of colleges will waive application fees for a variety of reasons. Again, sometimes if you are doing early decision or early action, they will waive those application fees. But again, check on their website and see what the application fee is. Now, it's important that when you submit your application electronically, you are also going to have to follow up with the 5 items that are listed there. Your official transcripts, those need to be sent from your counseling center, and they need to be official. You can't print them off. I know a lot of schools, you can print an unofficial transcript off their website. You need an official transcript that's sent directly to the college. See your counselor or your counseling center. They will help you with that process. You need to have your test scores, either SAT or ACT, sent directly from the college. And when you registered for your test, you had an opportunity to list 4 schools that you wanted your scores sent to. Those will be automatically sent to those schools. Those are free, but should you choose to apply to some additional schools, you need to have those scores sent. And you do that by going on to the College Board website. They have a link for sending test scores. There is a fee, and it may have gone up this year, but in the past it has been $12.50, and you will of course have to have a credit card, and then they will send those directly to the school. Some colleges are going to require a counselor page. All of the private schools do, some public schools do. Only send attachments if they're requested. Some colleges are going to ask for recommendations. Again, it's usually the private schools, and that's, to many of you, I've talked about getting recommendations. You're going to need those for scholarships as well.
Can I say something, Kathy?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So one thing I recommend to all the families out there is when you give people, the colleges on your applications, your email address, we think it's a good idea to have one email address that's just for college stuff. You know, whether it's applications or things they'll ask you for or financial aid stuff. If you have one website that your family can go into, not a website, one email address, then it won't get mixed up with all kinds of other stuff that might get deleted, by some mistake. So I would have a separate email address like a Google or a Hotmail or something like that. That would make it really easy to check on all the stuff to do with colleges.
All right, and last of all, on the essay, and I'm going to talk about essays in just a minute here, but some colleges will not require an essay. Very few do anymore, and I do want to say if you have a college that gives you the option of an essay, but it is not required, we always say do the essay, especially if it's a college where you're not certain whether or not you're going to get in. Also, a good essay may help you earn more merit-based aid. So if you have the option, do the essay. All right, now the common application. The common application, I think most of you are probably aware of. This is the application that all of the private schools accept. And they have their own applications as well, but they will accept the common application. And this is terrific for students who are applying to more than one private college, because you can do one application, one set of essays, and then those can go to all of the schools that all of the private schools that you are applying to. There are few public universities out there that will accept the common application. Very few do. So what you want to do is you just want to check the website of the schools you're applying to and see if they take the common application. And once you do that common application, be aware of the fact that some schools will also have a supplement that they will want you to complete. But it's generally quite short, and the common application is it's a great time saver. It's quite thorough. You will be listing, again, all of your senior year courses, but you will be listing all of your activities. I've talked to a lot of you about keeping a resume. Have your resume handy when you're doing your Common Application, because it will, you'll have all your activities listed and so on and so forth. And the nice thing about the Common Application is you can start that anytime, even if you're not certain yet which colleges you're going to apply to. If you're going to apply to more than one private school, do the Common Application. And then when you've made your decisions, you have it finished, you can start working on the essays and get that part of it done. All right, a few things to remember about your applications. Most of you are going to need a few recommendations. Sometimes for your college applications, definitely for scholarships, and so now is a good time to request recommendations from your teachers if you haven't already. Do not wait until November or December, because that's the time when teachers just get slammed for recommendations. The more time they have, the better your recommendation is going to be. And always give your teacher or person that you're asking or requesting a recommendation at least 2 weeks lead time, especially teachers and counselors, because they are very busy in the fall. Also, when you request a recommendation, give the person a resume if you have one. If you don't have a resume, you should build one very soon, because you will need it. Obviously, be keenly aware of all deadlines. All of the deadlines for applications and for scholarships are on the websites of the schools. Now, when you're doing your applications, obviously use proper English and writing conventions. You want to do what Stuart just mentioned, and that is create an application-specific email address, check it regularly. Stuart called it college-specific, same thing, so that when a school is communicating with you, this is how they are going to communicate, is through your email. And for example, when they are reviewing your application, there might be something missing. And it might even be on someone else's desk, but they will inform you through email. So check your email regularly. Once you've sent those applications out, you should check it daily. If you have specific admissions questions, call the college directly. Admissions is used to getting these kind of calls, and I always say, get it from the horse's mouth. Don't assume, that your friends or even teachers or whatever are giving you correct information. There's too much at stake for you to miss something because you've been misinformed. So go directly to admissions. For those of you that are running START students, and I know there are many of you out there, you will apply as freshmen even though you may have your AA degree at graduation. Once you have been admitted, and the reason that they want you to apply as freshmen, because there are a lot of perks and policies and so on that apply to freshmen, and even though you may have college credits that put you as a junior, you are still a freshman. Once those college credits are evaluated, then you will be given sophomore or junior status depending on your Running Start credits. And keep your grades up. Don't make drastic changes in your schedule. Remember that when you are admitted to college, you are admitted conditionally. Conditionally that you meet their requirements upon graduation. So if you have signed up for a full year of physics and you're admitted and they think you're going to take a full year of physics this year, but you drop second semester or you drop an AP class second semester, that may very well impact your admissions.
Kathy, I think it's a good time to take a little bit of a break from the presentation. And I want to check to see if we have some outstanding questions out there and see what we got going so we can answer some of these questions online here. Are you even reading these questions? All right, so Joe Dix has some questions here.
Please tell how long this is. I need to know.
All right, so how long the presentation is going to be?
Yes, I would say an hour.
I'd say about an hour. Okay. So hopefully that's going to work out for you, everybody. It's going to go till about 8 o'clock. Might go a little longer if there's a lot of questions at the end. SAT score sent from the school to the college. Well, we already explained that it comes directly from the SAT people.
From the College Board, right.
From the College Board. Okay, do you have a sample of what a resume would look like or contain?
Tell them to email me. I'll send them.
Okay.
Oh, yes, this is Kathy speaking. I have a one-page resume sheet that I give to my students. If you will just email me, I will send that to you.
Okay, another question about AP classes, and the student has enough credits to become a sophomore upon entry.
Okay, that kind of applies just as a running start student. Even though the student might be a sophomore credit-wise, they still are a freshman, and the AP classes will be evaluated and the student will be informed. Oftentimes, the way it works is that the student will have classes waived. For example, if they took junior AP language and composition, they will get their freshman English waived or their freshman composition waived. And the way that works out in the end is the student ends up graduating in 3 years instead of 2 years. And it really doesn't matter whether the notation is freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. It's how long it takes you to graduate. I hope that answered it.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, Kathy's email address.
kathy.steblaj@gmail.com.
So if you guys really need her address and you didn't write that down, just contact our office and we'll help you on that. Okay, the next question about applying for grants and where would that start? We're going to talk about grants and scholarships here a little bit later, so you'll probably get that answered as we go further in our presentation. All right, so that's all for now, you guys. Keep posting more questions, and we'll take another break here for that, okay? So I think we'll get back to our presentation. Go ahead.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. A few final things regarding the college applications and admissions. We as counselors talk to admissions officers every year. I just talked to some at a conference 2 weeks ago, and these are things that they tell us to tell our students. And I covered a little bit of this already. Challenge yourself your senior year. Do not fill your schedule with TAs, non-schedules. Again, that senior year curriculum is really, really important. And my philosophy always has been, this is your last chance at free education. And therefore, don't waste it. Take those extra math or science or world language or English classes or tech classes. And these are classes that you're going to pay a lot of money for once you get out of high school. Be well-rounded, be involved in extracurricular activities and community service. Colleges love to see community service because it tells them a lot about your character. They like to see that students are, interested in giving back to their community. And when you do community service, be sure that you document it and put it on your resume. I get asked a lot of times about AP classes, and I oftentimes have students who say, I'm not going to take any AP classes because I don't want them to drop my grade point. Admissions would rather see a B in an AP class than an A in a regular class, because that shows, number one, that you wanted to challenge yourself. The AP classes are more rigorous, and even though you might not get an A in them, they are going to better prepare you. So don't shy away from AP or IB classes because you don't want your grade point to drop. If you work outside the school day, be sure you put that on your resume. Jobs are extracurricular activities. They show that you have initiative. They show that you can balance a job outside of school as well as school. So be sure and include that on your resume. Now, I'm going to talk about essays next, but essays are really, really critical on your application. Give them your utmost attention and time. Okay, the admissions essay. As you, I'm sure, know by now, essays have become increasingly important. Most colleges are going to require an essay, and I've listed here why essays have become so important to college admissions. This is what they are looking for in your essay. They are looking for unique characteristics about you that separate you from other applicants. Your essay is the best evidence they have of your critical and analytical thinking skills. Now, they can surmise some of that from your transcript, obviously, the classes that you've taken, but when those admissions committees are reading your essays, that these are the types of things that they're looking. They want to see that you can think. They want to see that you have the higher level thinking skills. Written communication skills are probably the greatest indication of your success in college. And so they're going to look at the fact that you have good written communication skills. They also, through your essays, can determine the contributions that they can make, that you can make to their campus. And something that I think is important to keep in mind is that colleges want students with strong academic credentials, but they also want students who are going to be active on their campus, that are going to participate in the activities that are available. They want to see students that are tolerant, and students that embrace diversity, and students that are really going to contribute to their campus. So keep that in mind when you are writing your essays. You want to let them know what you're going to contribute to their campus. Now, there are 3 types of essays, and those of you that are already doing your applications have probably run into them. You may have an opportunity to do all 3 of these, or maybe only 1 or 2. The personal statement is probably the most common, and this is where you are going to basically talk about yourself. But what's really important here is the admissions people want to hear about you, your character, your personality, and I say sell yourself. Let them know what your passions are. Don't write a chronology of your life, you know, what you did in elementary school and what you did in middle school and in high school. They have your resume, they have your transcript. What you want to do is let them know something about you that they can't see in your transcript and in your application. Second type of essay, why you chose us. A lot of times colleges will ask you why you chose that particular college. And so obviously you want to explain to them why you chose that college. And what I always suggest that you do is try to tie in something about that college. You know, every college has its own unique characteristics, and try to address those characteristics and why that university would be a good fit for you. Why, for example, Evergreen State University here in Washington is quite a unique school. It's non-graded. It's, I call it the Free Spirit campus, and that might be a great fit for you. So you would want to address why that particular structure fits you and your personality. The third type of essay, which most of you will have an opportunity to do, and that is what we call the creative essay. And those questions, you know, they can be all kinds of things. For example, they might ask you to choose a person in history that you admire and explain to them why you admire that person. Or they might ask you to talk about a person in your life that has had an impact on your character development. And these essays are the ones where you really have an opportunity to let your creative side out. Again, your breadth of knowledge, your critical thinking skills, and this is probably the most challenging essay. But if you do well on it, this can really be to your benefit when those committees are reading the essays. Okay, a few essay writing tips, and I know that most of you probably get these in your English classes, but let's go through them. Never hurts to hear this more than once. Obviously, you want to employ all standards of good writing. You want to have an introduction, body, and a conclusion, and I know that sounds, you know, kind of like a no-brainer, but you would be surprised. I get a lot of essays that are actually quite good essays, but they're all one paragraph, and they might be 2 pages long. And so you want to be sure that you break it into an introduction, body, and a conclusion. And I'm assuming as seniors you know what should go into an introduction and what should go into a conclusion. I think the conclusion is a very good opportunity for you to show your critical thinking skills. And when I am grading essays or reading essays, I always look for the conclusion to do more than just summarize. This is an excellent opportunity for you to bring it to a higher level of thinking. And this is where you can analyze or synthesize or evaluate. Now, if you're not certain about those terms, analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating, go to your English teacher. You probably do it subconsciously, but there are certain adjectives that, knowing those, you know that you are bringing that conclusion to a higher level of thinking. And you can do that in the body of your essay too, but it's just the conclusion is a logical place to do that. Obviously, use good English mechanics. Be concise. A really good essay is one where you say what you want to say. It has a lot of impact, but it is concise. A lot of students tend to want to write everything possibly about a topic and hope that somewhere in there is the right answer. Okay, that's what you do not want to do. You want to be as concise as possible. Number 4, I can't explain how important that is. You want your opening sentence in whatever essay it is you're writing, whatever type of essay, to be unique. We call that your hook. You want to hook the reader in that very first sentence, and that will make them want to read on. And when you are an admissions officer and you are on an admissions committee and you are reading hundreds of essays, you want your essay to be the one that they want to read. And you let them know that by having a first sentence that really grabs the reader. Then, few last suggestions. I mentioned this earlier. Do not write your resume. They have that. They have your transcript. You don't need to talk about all the AP classes that you took, and you've worked hard to keep your 4.0 GPA and so on and so forth. They know all that because they have your transcript. They want to know something about you, your character, your personality. Please, students, proofread. And I always suggest that you have someone else proofread, because you've written your essay, you might proofread it 3 times and think and miss something. I always suggest that you have an English teacher or someone that is a good writer and a good reader to help you proofread your essay. Then keep all of your essays, because you can often reuse them. Just keep them all on your computer, and you'd be surprised at how you can go back and have a topic that you can tweak it a little bit and use it for, you know, a different college. All right, we're going to leave essays.
And
and
you want to say anything about your help for essays?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I meant to mention this. For those of you that would like some essay help, that is a service that I recommend. Recommend. I don't know why I said that. That's a service that I offer, and it is separate from the program that you signed up for with Stewart. I charge by the essay. I charge $50 for an essay that is 500 words or less, $75 for 50 to or 500 to 1,000 words, and then $100 for over 1,000. Very few colleges have you write essays over 1,000 words, but I help you with the content. I help you get started if you're stumped, don't know how to get started. You do a rough draft, you send it to me, I go through it line by line and make suggestions, corrections, send it back to you, you do your final draft, I'm the final proofreader, and so on. So that's a service that I offer. If you're interested in, just send me an email and I can go into more detail. And but again, have if you don't need any extra help, be sure that you have someone proofread it that is a good writer, a good reader. All right, word about scholarships, and this is something that, you know, Stewart works with you and your family, the financial aid piece. I did want to mention a few things. As I'm sure most of you know, most scholarship money out there is going to come from the colleges, and it's determined by your credentials, your academic credentials, and actually your personal credentials, and that's merit-based aid. And then the need-based aid is determined by the FAFSA, and Stewart will be helping your family with that in January. As far as the scholarships offered by your school, I always suggest that when you are applying to a college, you contact their scholarship office, because some schools have some separate scholarships for people with particular credentials. And oftentimes your college application is your scholarship application, but some schools will, in addition to that, offer other scholarships that require separate applications. You have to request those. They're not going to contact you and say, do you want to apply for these? You need to contact the office, request the applications, and those applications have deadlines, and pay close attention to those deadlines. Now, as far as private scholarships go, and again, most of the money out there comes from the colleges, but there are private scholarships, and there is a website that those of you that I have talked to, I think I have given you this, the washboard.org, but it is probably the best scholarship search I have seen for students in Washington. It's unique for students in Washington. Therefore, it narrows the field down. It's not a national scholarship search. And recently, the Washboard has made some changes, and I think it's gotten much better. You do have to put a little time in and build a profile, and then they will do the searching for you, and they will search for scholarships that they think you would qualify for. They will send those to you, or the application links or whatever, and then you can apply for those. There are also, as I'm sure you know, a number of national scholarship searches. I personally think FastWeb is the best. Again, you will build a profile and so on. And then I always tell my students, if your school has a career and counseling center, a lot of private scholarships, especially local ones such as Rotary Club, Kiwanis, and so on, will come from your school, through your school's counseling center. Check with them. They usually will have a website that they will post those scholarships on. And, you know, every extra $500,000, you're grateful you have it when it comes time to buy books.
Right. So just one more thing I want to interject is on these scholarships. You know, we said this time and time again, these private scholarships, you know, like I said, might add up to a couple $1,000s. So it's, you know, if you have extra time to spend doing the applications and things like that, go ahead and check on them. But the majority of the money is going to come from the schools themselves, you know, by far.
Right.
And so that's where you really want to focus on doing good on your grades, doing good on your scores for your tests, so you can get those merit-based scholarships that are determined a lot by how good a student you are.
Good. I agree. All right. Now, I have done a senior year checklist, and I've divided it into fall, winter, and spring because I get a lot of questions from seniors about I don't know what I should be doing right now. So I'm going to just quickly go through this. If you have not taken the SAT or want to retake the SAT, you should be doing this now. There was an October, well, there is an October test. Even the late deadline has passed for that, but there is a November test and a December test. So you need to judge, depending on your application deadlines, which test you can take, and just be sure that when you take it, you get your scores sent to the colleges that you are applying to. This is a good time if you're undecided as to exactly the colleges you're going to apply to. If you haven't already, this is a good time to do campus visits. I know all high schools have college representatives that visit, and this is a good thing to access as well because these representatives can give you a lot of good information in a short period of time. This is also when you should be contacting colleges if you have specific questions regarding admissions programs. You can call them or email them. Most colleges are pretty good at getting, if you can't get directly in and leave a phone message, you're probably best off emailing. They'll probably get back to you quicker. As I mentioned, this is when you should be requesting recommendations from your teachers or people in the community. Obviously, this fall is when you should be completing and submitting your applications, depending on what your deadlines are.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
So I always suggest that the students get going on the applications, you know, right away. A lot of kids tend to put them off and procrastinate. But if you can get them in by Thanksgiving time, I think that's a good deadline to use, because then those applications are then earlier. The schools will have, you know, they don't have a deluge of applications yet by then. They can really look at yours a lot more closer and get back to you sooner. And then it's all over with. And you don't have to worry about it, and you can pay more attention to other things. So for those students on the call, it's better just to get going and just focus on it and get them done.
Right. And I can't overemphasize what Stuart just said, and it is like anything. When college admissions get very, very busy, and that usually is in December and January, they are not going to have the same amount of time to consider every application that they are going to have in October or November. And so just keep that in mind. Less time to read and consider essays and so on. So that's very, very good advice.
Kathy, are we going to talk about SAT prep too?
Yes, I have it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Wintertime. Hopefully your applications are already submitted. If not, be sure that you get them in. This is a time, once your applications are in, you're free to have a little more time. This could be time to continue working on scholarships. January is when Stuart will be working with your family on the FAFSA, which cannot be submitted until after January 1st. Also,
can I say something on the FAFSA? So we actually start the process of gathering all the information for FAFSAs in November. So your family will be getting a FAFSA worksheet from us to start putting in all the asset and income information and various things we need to have so that we put all this information in our computer system. So when January hits, we'll have all the information we need, and it's relatively easy to get that information transferred into the FAFSA form on their website. And so we get all the FAFSAs done in the first 2 to 3 weeks of January. And if you wait to give us that information later, it's just going to make it harder to get it done earlier. So when you get those FAFSA information sheets, please estimate income levels and give us asset numbers so that we can get those into our computer program.
all right, and the next one, keep colleges updated on any changes in your curriculum or any honors received. Now, changes in the curriculum, again, you have to put down your senior year curriculum. Any changes, you want to notify them. Again, it's not wise to drop an AP class or the second half of an academic course, such as I mentioned physics or whatever. But if you do, you need to notify them. And I do want to mention where I say any honors received. If you receive some type of an honor that you think might influence merit-based aid, getting more merit-based aid, you want to be sure and notify the school. A good example would be, let's say that you received information this fall that you're a national merit finalist. Now, I can't, or a semifinalist. Normally you get that information in the junior year because it comes through the PSAT. But then if you're a semifinalist and then you go on and become a finalist, you'll find that out at the beginning of your senior year. You may have already gotten that information before your applications, but that would be an example. Let's say that you find out that you are an AP Scholars with distinction, and you haven't put that down on your college application. Any of those type of academic honors might help you with merit-based aid, so you can always contact admissions and just have them add that to your application. Then after your FAFSA has been submitted, you're going to watch for your student aid report, and that's something that Stuart will be talking to you about, you and your family about.
And one more thing on FAFSAs is that we will be emailing everybody. It's a FAFSA data sheet that you can actually go online and fill in information like Social Security numbers or driver's license numbers or various things that we need to put on the FAFSA. So that's kind of new for us this year. We got a new program that enabled us to get all this information right online into our program. So that will be a big help in getting the FAFSAs completed timely and accurately.
Okay, spring. This is when, depending on when you submitted your FAFSA, you're going to get your student aid report back. You're going to need to go through it, correct it, make any changes, and return it. And again, that time frame is going to be different for every student depending on when you submitted the FAFSA. In the spring is when you're going to receive and review any acceptance letters that you've gotten from the colleges and financial aid awards. Students are always asking me how long before I know whether I've been admitted to a college. That so varies. It depends on the college and it depends on when you applied. Some colleges have what we call rolling admissions, where as applications come in, they review them and then they accept or reject them and notify you. Some schools have pool admissions where they wait until their deadline, till all of the applications are there, then they choose. And so it depends on your college, but generally if you apply, let's say in November, if you apply in November, you should be getting your acceptance or rejection, hopefully only acceptance letters, I would say no later than February. Might come a little earlier than that. If you don't get your applications in till December, it might be a little bit later. It just depends, again, on when you get them in. Now, once you receive your acceptance letters and your financial aid awards, and this is something I believe that Stuart is going to help you with, you can appeal financial aid offers, or if you'd have had a big change in your circumstances, for example, let's say that one of your parents lost their job or something and your financial situation changes drastically, and that's something that Stuart will help you with.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's the big part of what we do is help in evaluating these financial aid offers and taking any steps that are possible to try to get them improved if we can. So that happens really towards the end of March and April. Once we get all those acceptance letters in, then we can compare them, we put them on a spreadsheet, and then you can see which ones are great, which ones maybe can be improved. And then deadlines to actually decide which school you want to go into is around May 1st for just about all schools.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. And that kind of ties in with this next one here. Notify your school of choice that you're accepting its offer and then send in the required deposit by the date indicated in the offer. And that, as Stuart said, will probably happen in May 1st. And then you also want to notify the colleges that you're not choosing, that you're not accepting their offer, so that then they can open that up to another student. This is also when you make arrangements to have your final transcript sent to your college that you have decided to go to. Remember that when you were admitted conditionally on your final transcripts and so on and so forth. So be sure that you do that, and then you're done. Good luck. Now, I did want to mention one more thing, and that is some of you are aware that we have a new program available to us, the SAT Method Test Prep. And I know for most of you seniors, you're probably done with the SAT, but some of you may be taking it again in November or December. But the Career Cruising program that all of you have, and all of you have a username and a password, this program offers one of the best SAT test preparation programs that I have seen. And the good news is it's free for you. And I have a one-page little direction sheet with some information, but it's really easy to access if you just get into your Career Cruising account. And again, you all have a username and a password. Go to your home page, click on My Plan, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see a little icon that says Method Test Prep. Click on that, and you will have this SAT Test Prep program. It's quite lengthy. It's a 20-week program, but for you seniors, my recommendation would be that you do week 1 because it goes over test strategies, some really important information that you should find helpful even if you've already taken the test. And then you can scroll through and you can find the areas that you're weak in. For example, if you were weakest in the critical reading, then you can go through and zero in on those particular segments of the test. They also have full-length practice tests and, of course, immediate feedback and explanations as to why your answer was wrong and explanations of the correct answer. So it's an outstanding program. We're very, very happy to have it, and we hope you will use it.
So my suggestion is, if you're studying for an upcoming November or December test, you got to really kind of pick the areas that you need the most help in, like Kathy said, but spend more time at it. I mean, instead of 1 hour a week, spend 2 or 3 hours a week. That way you can really kind of cram more study time in and try to get as much out of this program as possible, because they say if you do the full program, the average test score improves about 140 points. So that's a pretty big improvement, and that can mean a lot of potential scholarship money that you get in addition to if you didn't do the test again and get better scores. Mm-hmm. So anything else, Kathy?
No, I think that concludes our application workshop.
Right, but let's look at questions.
Okay, right. And I'm going to let Stuart take over, and we'll both answer questions, but I'll let him do the technology here.
Okay. All right, let's see if there's more questions that have opened up here.
How do you apply for grants?
And let's go up here. AV classes. Okay, we already did. How do you apply for grants? When and where would you be able to do that? Okay, I think we talked about that pretty good, Kathy.
Right. Although the grants, there are both, again, merit-based and need-based grants. The need-based grants you will get through the FAFSA. You will be notified of those. And the merit-based grants are given by the colleges. And so when you apply and you get your financial aid award letter, you will be informed of grants. You don't actually apply for these grants. The college determines whether or not you get the grants. Now, there are a few grants out there that you do apply for, but they're very specific to income groups, ethnic groups, students that do exceptionally well in the math and science areas, and I'm trying to say how would you access. Email me if you have a question on those. It's difficult just to explain that very quickly like this, but the majority of the grants that are out there are going to be determined by both the FAFSA and the college.
Right. So the grants are really more the need-based type of free money that the colleges give you, determined by your FAFSA. Okay, so let's look at another question here. Good one here is, how about scholarship searches for Idaho? Because we do have some Idaho clients. Any good details on that?
I'm not aware of any state searches. There are of course, the national searches. FastWeb is, as I mentioned, probably the best. I am sorry, but I am not aware of any specific for the state of Idaho.
So those of you from Idaho, ask the counselor office at the school.
Right, definitely.
They might have that information. Okay, as far as our presentation here, we said that at the very beginning, that this will be available on our website. We've been recording this, so give us about a week, and we'll probably have it posted on our website by then. A good question here is about, is the ACT just as good as the SAT?
The yes and no. Colleges will accept either one. The difference in the ACT and the SAT is an achievement test, whereas the SAT is an aptitude. And some students do much better on an achievement test. Basically what that does is it's an indication of what you've learned throughout high school. And you are being tested in 5 subject areas instead of 3, and so it's broader. Some students tend to do better because they're being tested, you know, in more areas. So I would say I don't think either one is any better than the other. If you, you know, have the time and the money, so to speak, I would say take both tests and see which you do best in, because the college will take whichever one has the highest scores.
Okay, good. Okay, one of the last ones here is about taking the SAT once you've already applied.
Certainly. Definitely. And now I just see here, even though the early decision app is due mid-November, if you're doing early decision, and this is the school that you absolutely want to go to, they're going to make the decision before you've retaken the SAT, so there wouldn't be any.
No, but what if we just are applying early, not early decision?
Okay, because she said early decision. I would say, you know, if you're just applying early, especially if a school has pool admissions, I'd say go ahead and take it and then submit those scores. The college will accept the highest set of scores that are there at the time the application is reviewed. So I hope that helps.
Okay. Well, I think we're getting close to the end here. I don't see any more questions. So I appreciate everybody attending.
Did we answer this last question?
Yeah, when's the latest I should take the ACT and still have colleges take it? What do you think?
I say so that the scores are there by the application deadline.
Right. So maybe the December test will probably be the last one.
Right, right. Unless you are applying to a school that the application deadline, there are a few that there are in April and May, and then you could possibly take the early April test.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for attending. I hope you got a lot of great information. I want to thank Kathy for giving such a great presentation to everybody. If you have any further questions, go ahead and email our office, and we'll get some answers back to you. Chris, do you have anything else?
No, just go ahead and email us. You guys can send those emails to my email address, and we'll get on those as quickly as possible.
Thank you, everyone, for attending, and good luck with all of this.
All right. Bye-bye.